Are you guys back again? Hi. You know what? You ask one friend if her new boyfriend is a rescue, and suddenly, 8 months later, you're not invited to the wedding. It's not fair. Anyway, she sent me her registry, and I said, listen, can we remember that I'm a waitress? I make $2.13 an hour. How about the next time you get married, I buy you 2 gifts? She did not appreciate that. I don't know why. Anyway, I better be invited. It's cake. Cake, people. This is important. So, welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be discussing why I'm a bad mom. Yeah, I got to get this over with. I need to get it out there, especially since both my children need me right now. Well, anyway, go get some popcorn, something to drink, sit down. I'm going to try to make it quick, but I need to tell this story so people understand. And it's a way of getting to know me. And we all know that's an awesome thing, especially if you're a prospective date, because now you can see how I really am and run for the hills before we even meet. So go get something to drink and I'll meet you back here in a second. It's definitely a video that I'm not going to edit, and I want to get it over with. I don't know why I put my makeup on, because I'm going to probably cry. And let me tell you something. Fat women never cry pretty. Heck, even when I was skinny, I didn't cry pretty. Anyway, the reason why I'm making this video is because last week I put up my daughter's GoFundMe page. My daughter is going to be 29 in December, and she is in nursing school halfway through. So this is what happened, and I commented, I feel useless as a mom because I can't help her. And a lot of people, because of her age, came back with, you got to let them fly the nest sometimes, and you can't be and do everything for there. Well, here's the thing. I haven't done much of anything for either one of my biological children. And to understand why I'm saying that, you got to go back to the beginning, and I'll make it quick. I was married to a guy named Bruce. He married me to get off base. Little did I know when we got married, because let's face it, I'm foolish. Oh, there's something on the thing. Oh, you won't see that. Anyway, I didn't know that he married me just so that he could move off base, do drugs, and drink all the time. He happened to have a best friend, David, who moved with us. So, newly married, 3 of us in this really nice apartment in Alaska, and the drugs and the drinking starts. I pretty much ignored it until one day he thought it was funny to slip me acid. Yeah. Now, for those of you who know me, I was raised Mormon, so there was no drugs, there was no smoking, nothing like that. He slipped me acid and then told me he did, and all I remember were those horror films they show you in high school. So I proceeded to have a bad trip, never ever having done drugs before. He was also the reason I started smoking. He didn't like me asking him to go outside and smoke. In Alaska, it's very cold. He smoked Marlboro Reds. I hated the smell of them. So in order to alleviate his irritation, he decided to lock me in the bathroom and basically kick the crap out of me until I started smoking. And this went on for about a week, and I finally decided it would be easier just to smoke the dang cigarettes as opposed to getting beat up. When they did my breast reduction, cigarette burns were removed. Anyway, this is how that person was. So, needless to say, a divorce ensued. And rebound romance, I married David. David is Brandon's dad, was. David passed away a few years ago, pancreatic cancer. So, David and I get married. Not long after, I find myself pregnant. Don't have any children at the time. Have had a couple miscarriages. Had an abortion as a result of rape. Didn't even know if I would be able to get pregnant again. Got pregnant with Brandon, very excited. Brandon came into the world January 16th, 1988. Yes, or January 8th, 1988. See, not a good mom, right? Anyway, I loved him. He was a little ball of perfection, even though when he was born jaundiced. was under the Billy Rubin lights for 21 days. And the day they let us take him home, something of a miracle happened. He had a cough, and I told David I want to take him up to the ER room, and David said it's no big deal, it's a cough. But a little voice inside me said, take him anyway. So I took him up there. They did a blood test, and that's when I found out Brandon had hereditary spherocytosis anemia. His spleen was not working. His hematocrit count was 7, and had I let him fall asleep that night, he never would have woken up again. So a couple transfusions, and a little bit later, we brought him home and everything was fine. Anyway, so Brandon's born. We get out of the military in Alaska. We moved back home to Chicago, then we moved to Hawaii. In Hawaii, David decided, even though in the military he was a space and satellite communications technician, David decided that he did not want to work. I was working at World Gym Waikiki at 240 pounds. I managed a gym. 90% sign-up rate, because I would tell people, sign up and start working out or you're going to look like me. True story. Anyway, that's where I met Ashley's daddy, Michael, at the gym. David got wind that I was going to divorce him. Not because I was involved with Michael, I wasn't at the time. But David got wind I was going to divorce him because he kept refusing to work. I lost respect for him. And to be honest, even though I loved David, still do to this day, never stopped loving him, I don't believe I was ever in love with him. It was a rebound thing. I was young. Just a bad situation. And yes, I apologize to David, but here's the thing. We lived in Oahu on Aliukalani. We had Brandon, 18 months old. David comes to me and says he's taking Brandon home for Thanksgiving so he can visit his family. David's from Waukegan, Illinois. He has a large Hispanic family. No problem. I don't think anything of it. Go ahead, go. He was supposed to return the following Tuesday. He didn't return. I didn't get any messages from him. I heard nothing. He had no intention of returning. He took my son off the island and never looked back. I was one of the lucky ones. My son was gone, but I knew that his dad had him somewhere. So I knew that he was safe, and I knew that he was loved. Did that stop the pain? No, not at all. Brandon was 18 months. I wouldn't see Brandon again until he was a little over 3 years old. And then only for a short time. Did it hurt? Yeah. You can't talk to an 18-month-old on the phone. And besides, I didn't know where he was. David's family was helping him hide him. Anyway, all right, so that's the precursor, so you understand other things, okay? After David left, probably about 6 months after, I got involved with Ashley's daddy. Now, just for the record, because Michael was a exercise physiologist, a sports model, did a TV show with Gil Jankowicz out of Hawaii, had a killer body. I was not pregnant the day we got married. We got married January 8th. Ashley was born December 14th. Do the math. I felt like I needed a t-shirt to write that out because when I walked down the street with Michael, skinny women would look at us like, how did she? Okay? No, I wasn't pregnant. Anyway, Ashley was born December 14th, 1990. Michael, who was born and raised on the islands, decided before Ashley was born, when I was about 4 months pregnant, that he had island fever and he didn't want to remain on the island. I should have gotten rid of him then. Anyway, so I went back to Chicago. Michael went with me for a short time and he joined the Air Force. He requested as his base, Elmendorf Air Force Base. Now, when I flew out of Elmendorf with David and Brandon, I flipped off Alaska, okay, saying that's it. Been here for 2 husbands, ain't never coming back. I don't like the snow. I don't like moose in my backyard. I don't like to worry about buried in the garbage, that kind of thing. Michael requested Elmendorf Air Force Base, and guess where his first duty station was? You heard it. Anyway, Ashley's born. I actually deliver at Lackland Air Force Base, then come back and wait for Mike to finish basic training, okay? So, right after Ashley was born, I came back to Illinois to wait for Mike to finish tech school. And David decided that he would allow me, Lucy, stop it, that he would allow me to have Brandon for a couple of days. Where I lived, Lucy, come here. Stop barking. Anyway, I had not seen my son since David had taken him. There was something crucial that happened the week that I had him. Not that he got a hold of my keychain that had mace on it and sprayed it in the house and didn't tell us, and Ashley was in the crib. No, but something that has stayed with me forever. That weekend, Brandon had cried over missing his dad. And I remember he had tears running down his eyes and he had snot coming out of his nose. Okay? Just like complete mess. And I couldn't wipe it on my sleeve because I was grossed out. I was grossed out by my very own son because I didn't know him, and for me, he was a stranger. You see, David took a little baby, and I wanted that 18-month-old baby back. And I remember how awful I felt going to get tissue to wipe his nose. Now, he's only 3 years old. He didn't know, but I did. And oh, if you only knew how guilty I feel about that. Anyway, before Ashley was born, when David and I were discussing the divorce, I didn't have a lot of money, nor did Michael. And we had Ashley coming and didn't know how we were going to support ourselves, which is why he joined the military. I had to make a decision, and this is a crucial thing. Brandon left at 18 months old and didn't really know who I was. He knew David. David went and got a really good job with Abbott Laboratories. David was able to give Brandon every material thing that he needed, including paying for schooling. He was able to give Brandon everything except a mommy at the time. So I made the decision, a decision that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It still does today, and I'm still paying for it. But regardless of me being grossed out by his runny nose, that was still my little boy. I missed him every moment of every day. Ashley was not a substitute. I loved my son. I still do today. But I knew that he would be better off being raised by David at that time. Because A, he didn't know me, and I didn't want to mess him up. And B, I knew that he would have everything. You can go ahead and call me a bad mom. You can go ahead and say, I don't know how you could make that decision. Not a damn thing you can say, not a single criticism is going to make me feel any worse than I already do. I did what I thought was best for my son, and I paid for it. Because that little boy grew up believing that his mom didn't want him when he was younger because he thought I didn't fight for him or I didn't look for him. And I did look for him, and I did fight for him for a long time. And then I fought for him to have what's best by letting David keep him. Brandon grew up very, very smart, very academically gifted. He has my imagination, my ability to take thoughts and feelings and translate them into the written word or verbalize them. Brandon became way too smart for his own good. And this all leads into Ashley. Now, let's go to Ashley. Ashley's father did not love me. I wanted him to. I tried to change for him. He cared more about outwardly appearances. I was never able to be what he wanted. He became very angry. Angry to the point that at one time he told me that my cancer was his punishment. Don't get me started on that one. That's another video. And no, I'm not going to bash him. I'm just going to tell you what happened, because a lot of what happened I completely deserved. But our marriage was not a good one. And Michael was very, very angry. Michael had a sense of entitlement that I did not think he had a right to have. So he would verbally abuse me and Ashley at times when he was angry. I remember once when she was 13 or 14, we were out at a casino restaurant having dinner, and Ashley said something Mike didn't like, and Mike threw his glass of wine at her, got up, and left us there. Took the car and left us there. Ashley told a teacher, and DCS showed up, and they took Ashley away. She was gone for 2 weeks. They said that the only way that she could be returned is if Mike went into anger management and I kicked him out of the house. It took me 2 seconds to tell him to get the hell out. Do I feel guilty for not doing what it took to avoid that situation? Yes. Should I have protected my daughter better? Yes. I grew up being hit and put down. I hit my kids one time, and that's an incident, or I'll discuss that in another video, but one time, and I remember when it happened, I was so angry, I lost control. I didn't punch him, but I pulled him and took Ashley by the hair and dragged them both down the hallway to their rooms, and there was a moment when I realized I can't do this because I will become what was done to me, and I refused to let that happen. So I never touched either of my kids again. I never hit them as punishment or in anger. And now looking back, they paid for that too, because there were times they should have had their asses smacked, which is why one of them is in a state penitentiary. And anyway, where was I? I'm not going to cut or edit this. And if you're still here, God bless you. Okay, so jump years later. Brandon and I had always had a volatile relationship. Things would be going good for a while, and then he would return to being angry at me for what had transpired in the past. Or I would say something that he didn't like, and he would refuse to talk to me for a year. After his father died, he decided that I wasn't allowed to even mention the man's name. And if I slipped and I said anything, like your dad had a quirky sense of humor, I said that once. Brandon hung up on me, and he didn't talk to me for a year. Brandon was very good at calling me and making me weep. In 2010 or 11, Brandon was arrested for having ecstasy on him. He was caught selling at a rave. Brandon was a DJ at a rave. He went to jail, went to court, and got probation. That would be the end of the story. No, that happened in 2009 or 10. In 2012 or 2013, Brandon was at a rave again and got caught. Or the first time he was on the street and he got caught. But one of those times, the second incident, he got caught with 40 pills on him. Brandon was selling ecstasy at the raves. The prosecution in Chicago where he lives, charged him with distribution. This happened while he was on probation. Brandon was sentenced to 4 years in prison, or 1 year. I think it was sentenced to 4 years, serve 1 year. I remember him calling me the day that he was sentenced, and he was very angry with me because he wanted me to be happy he only got a year, and instead, I'm pissed off and freaking out that my son's going to prison for a year. You know, when we become parents, the one thing we want is for our children not to make the same mistakes we did. And when I was 19, I went to jail for 74 days. Again, another video. And here, my little boy was going away for a year. And he was angry at me during that year because I wasn't happy for him, so he did not speak to me that entire year. So I was left with my imagination of what it was like for him. He's half Hispanic, but he looks all Hispanic. Did he join a gang? Is he gonna get beat up? Is he gonna get involved in the underground drug system? Is he gonna get killed? So fast forward, Brandon gets out. Our relationship is still volatile. The last time I spent any time with my son was when he was 18 years old and came out to Vegas to spend the summer with us. Brandon and Ashley had always had a weird relationship. Ashley became angry at Brandon for what he did to me, how he would make me cry, because she would see that. Brandon resented Ashley because part of him felt that I loved her more, because when I decided to let his father bring him up, I had Ashley. So, volatile relationship. To the point that at one time I found out that Brandon asked Ashley to get drugs for her in California because they were cheaper. She did not send him drugs, but it infuriated me that she would even ask that, or he would even ask that. Anyway, fast forward. Ashley wanted to go to nursing school. Brandon, who is now out, has served his year, has been out for a couple of years, taking care of himself, doing well, earning money, doing computer work. He is a computer genius. Ashley doesn't know this, but Brandon was helping pay for her nursing school. I couldn't help with my son's lawyer that he needed. I couldn't help Ashley with funds to get in school because I'm a waitress. And I never went to school, and I didn't get a degree, and I don't have a fancy job. So I couldn't even help my children. There was one occasion where Ashley asked me for money to help make a car payment, and I had it on me and I was able to send it to her, but other than that, I haven't. Oh, I forgot one other big part. When Ashley was 16 years old, she moved out of the house. She was almost 17, but she had been doing BMX, and her coach was really good to her, and she wanted to concentrate on that. And Michael still wasn't very nice and was constantly angry, and also had got himself hooked on my medications, my cancer medications, the painkillers. So Ashley came to me and said that she wanted to leave, and I'm the one that gave her permission. She was 16. She stayed with her coach for a while and then moved with somebody else. She switched schools 3 times her senior year, and that girl still graduated. She graduated high school despite what she was going through, despite being on her own. Mike wasn't giving her any money to live. So when someone says that she acts entitled, I want you to know that both of my kids, because Brandon left his daddy when he was 18 right after graduation, both of my children from a very early age have completely taken care of themselves. They have never come to me for anything, which also shows what a bad mom I am. Anyway, Brandon got arrested again. I found out a few weeks ago. Apparently there was a warrant out for him. I don't know why there was a warrant. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he didn't check in or broke probation. I don't know if he failed a urine test. I don't know. I don't have a phone. I cannot afford a phone, so he cannot call me. I only know what Ashley's been able to tell me because he has called her. Those two developed a better relationship over the last few years. So when Ashley came and told me she was in trouble, she didn't know how she was going to pay for the last half of her nursing school. She has a year to go. $4,000. $4,000 is so much money. It's so little money, but it's so much money. So Ashley, who learned from me to be very proud and work for yourself and not ask for help, swallowed her pride and started a GoFundMe and asked me to share it, and I did. One of my sweet friends on Facebook immediately sent her $500 through GoFundMe. And she cried when she told me, and I appreciate that so much. But when I shared it, I wrote how I wasn't able to help my kids and I wasn't a very good mom. And now you know why. I didn't protect them. I wasn't able to give them a lot when they were growing up. During most of Ashley's childhood, I was going through chemotherapy, and during the last couple of years of her life, I was on such heavy medication that I wasn't even there. So that's why I asked you guys to share the link. And I'm going to put the link down below, because even if you can just spare a couple of dollars, it'll help. Even though I don't know why she did the GoFundMe, because on the GoFundMe, if you don't, I think if you don't reach it, you don't get it, or if they do doll it out to you, they take a percentage. So she has another link where that doesn't happen. But I'm working my butt off to get better so that I can get better shifts so that I can send money for her tuition. But I don't know if it's going to be enough and in time. Ashley started her second year, but she's exhausted all the loans and grants. So don't say, can she do this? No Pell Grant, nothing. She's exhausted it, okay? Brandon's not there to help out financially. She just needs to get through this year. Like I like to say, if she can finish nursing school, then when the time comes, she can euthanize me for free. Anyway, I'm sorry if I got snippy at a couple of the people that wrote in comments about my children shouldn't feel entitled. My children don't feel entitled. Brandon essentially lost both of his parents. At least he feels that way. And for a while, I mean, both of my kids have been on their own for so long. They don't ask anything of me, which is why I decided to share that and ask of my friends. So that's the story. That's a condensed version. There's so many things that happened in between, and so many times, you know, I wish, as so many of us do, that we could go back and do it again and start over. And everything that's happened has made me very compassionate towards other mothers, but also towards other children when I see their situation, because I understand. And I learned and I became wise. If I could do it again, I know now there's so many things I would do differently, but we all know the one thing that you cannot purchase, no matter how much you wish you could, is time. And there's no going back, and I can't do it again. You know, the only two children that ever screwed up were the two that I gave birth to. My adopted kids, all of them fine. This proves one thing. Not that I'm a bad mom, but that it's their dad's fault. What can I say? I gotta end this on a good note. I did it. I got it over with. I'm not gonna rewatch it. I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put Ashley's link below. I know very few people even stayed on this long to hear this story. That's okay. At least I got it out. And being a mom is the best job I ever had. I just wish I wouldn't have failed so effing miserably at it. I don't like to even say that. I don't want to say I'm a failure as a mother because that implies that my children are failures. They're not. Brandon was stupid. Oh, he was so feckin' stupid. I really wanted him to learn his lesson the first time. But Ashley hasn't done anything wrong. But she's paying the price. And because her brother can't help her now, that is partially my fault. You cannot tell me that he has not turned to drugs to deal with the pain and anger that he feels, because I know that he did. I'm not excusing it. He and I would fight over his poor choices. But if I could go back and change one thing, I'd wipe his nose with my hand. Because when that happened, I realized that I didn't know him and I was detached. I'll always regret that. So be kind to each other. Be kind to yourselves. That's all I have to say. Look for the next video. It'll be a lot happier. Maybe not. Who the hell knows? Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure hit the subscribe button. You can hit the bell so you get a notification every time a new video is posted. Be brave. And if you're watching this from my humor page, go subscribe to my other one because I'm not doing anything here. All right, bye guys.